Hey, what's up, everybody? Or, yeah, there's a couple people in here. Got the camera a little low, huh? There we go. Yeah, so I thought we would, on Tuesday, we got the brake cables on. I spent 2 hours putting brake cables on this bike. But that was actually a good thing because I only was ever building a bike on the live streams to give myself something to do because originally there was really no one watching. So it was kind of teaching myself how to live stream and then being able to accomplish something while I was doing it. So the fact that I didn't get a lot done on the bike is not a big deal because it was fun to be able to chat with a bunch of different people last week. Um, yeah, I had a few new people. Man, I'm so bad at remembering names. Once you pop in the chat again, I'll remember. Um, the guy from Ireland, friend Ben from Columbus, and Ben from up here in Akron. A couple dudes came over from that I met on Terry B's channel, and we nerded out about winter cycling and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was a pretty fun chat last week, or on Tuesday. I keep forgetting it's Thursday. Do this on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So yeah, when I get on Tuesday, I always say last week. Anyways, I figured so today I would try and get the shifting set up on this. Something really cool happened, kind of coincidental, I guess. So if you haven't been here before, this is a Barry Hoban frame. It's his pro model. It's made actually, I believe, by Falcon from my research, which is was a British cycling bike manufacturer. Full Reynolds, main triangle, fork blades, rear triangle. I bought it from a guy who lived in Dayton. He dropped it off at my friend Brad's in Columbus, and then I picked it up this summer. So pretty cool frame, and he was only asking $75 for it since he took it to my friend's house all the way in Columbus. I gave him 90, so still a good deal. But yeah, so Cycling News, a British publication, they have a YouTube channel that I follow. They did their end of the year cycling awards, and they gave their Lifetime Achievement Award to Barry Hoban, which this bike is named after. So I watched that this morning actually, and it was really cool. He's still alive. I would say probably before Wiggins, he was probably I would guess probably the most successful British cyclist. Trying to think who else would have filled that gap, but he won Ghent Wevelgem. He rode in 13 Tour de France's, so very successful British rider. And he was in the era of Eddie Merckx and Roger de Vlaeminck. He actually beat those two in Ghent Wevelgem, which is amazing. Hey, what's up, Danny? So, yeah, so I linked this video below. So it's a interview with Barry Hoban. Check it out. He's really cool. You know, he must be. He looks like maybe he's in his. I didn't figure it out, but I mean he must. I didn't do the math. I mean, but he must be in his 70s or maybe even early 80s, right? How old is Eddie Merckx? I guess you know. Oh yeah. Hey, what's up, pedal pusher? Columbus Ben. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. Whenever you want, check out that link and watch this little interview with Barry Hoban. It was pretty cool that between Tuesday's stream and today's stream, interview with him dropped and he got a Lifetime Achievement Award. He seemed really happy to get it. He loved reminiscing about all his victories. Like I said, yeah, he was, I think, mostly a sprinter, it seems like. I mean, if you outsprint Eddie Merckx and de Vlaeminck, you got to be a decent sprinter. But yeah, 13 Tour de France's. And he won. He's the first British cyclist, picked this up, to win back-to-back stages. And he was also, if you know Tom Simpson's story, the guy who died, British rider who died during the Tour de France, he won the stage the day after Tom Simpson died. I mean, it was interesting. Go listen to him tell the story. I mean, he was there. He did it. Danny asked, what would you say your main driving force to bike so much? What would you say draws you into it all? I've thought about this a lot in my life, and like, or especially since I've been back into cycling. I think it's the combination of forces. It's a very like social activity. Up until, you know, well, last spring, and now lately I haven't been doing it socially, but so I love the social aspect of cycling. And at least around here, and I've talked about this before, everyone I meet who rides a bike and rides at a similar speed, we all ride together, and we don't care whether you're a track bike fixie guy, mountain bike guy, whatever. We just love to ride with people who love to ride bikes. So I love that social aspect. I love the meditative effect. I'm a busybody. I can't ever picture myself, sitting cross-legged and meditating. You know, it's just not, that's not the way I can clear my mind. Mine is by activity. So if I get out and I'm on a long stretch of path where I just kind of stop thinking, it gives me that kind of peace of mind. I also like it because it keeps me in shape. I was a runner. I ran cross country in high school. I ran a couple half marathons a few years ago. So I like being really active, but now I just prefer to have that on my bike. So it's the exercise part of it. So yeah, I mean, it's the sense of freedom. When I go out with my Wednesday night group, we seriously feel like a bunch of kids, especially when we're exploring. Like I put out a video today. I think, were you in the Danny? Were you there at the premiere? There were a few people talking in the premiere. I did the premiere thing for the heck of it because I schedule them anyways. Because I put my videos out in 4K and it takes YouTube forever to process those, even once they're uploaded. So I have a big, even if I'm not going to premiere it, it's gonna wait 4 hours before it goes up after I upload it. But yeah, if you watch that route we took when me and my friends discovered that crazy route through Akron, where we're not on any roads, but we're in the center of a once bustling city. I just love that. It's like that feeling. I remember when I left the neighborhood on my little BMX Huffy dirt bike, whatever it was. It was that feeling of freedom, of getting away from it all, and I still get that feeling. Endorphins, yeah. You get that from the exercise, you get that from the friends. Yeah, so it's definitely not one thing, and I'm definitely obsessed. If you don't know my story, I loved riding when I was younger, but I never was like a cyclist. I never had any caps or anything like that, but I rode, and I had friends who rode and stuff like that. And then I worked on a farm for 10 years, so my summers were just completely busy. So I stopped riding pretty much. I'd ride a little bit in the spring. If the fall was nice, I might get out, but I never even considered winter riding. It wasn't something that was even on my radar. That came from getting back into cycling and not wanting to give it up. But I lost my train of thought on that one. Oh yeah, so I didn't ride for a long time, but I totally lost my train of thought. Doesn't matter. Yeah, you miss your rides with buds. Yeah, that's the thing that it's a bummer now because that's become a way. Like I said, I didn't used to ride in winter, but riding with friends, once I got into it, that's something that helped me get through winter better, is being somebody who likes to be outdoors. I mean, I'll go for hikes or whatever. We got where I live at here, Akron, Cuyahoga Valley is beautiful, great place to go hiking. But yeah, the last few years, like the winter rides are something that I've started to look forward to as my escape. You don't do that much else. I'm not someone who, sits in a bar that much anymore. I mean, we don't do that now. But that was your other winter escape, maybe, right? Being able to talk to people sitting at the bar. But I went a different route today. It's still a Missing Falls beer, but I went dark. This is their chocolate porter. We haven't done a beer roll call or a drink. What's everyone else drinking? So. It's good. It's a little bit on the sweet side, but it's not overly sweet, which I like. I don't like overly sweet beers. It has just enough bittering hops that the finish is bitter. You get that sweet chocolate towards the front of the mouth for the beer nerds out there. What is the 7% alcohol? So that's pretty strong, actually. They call it Saturday evening cartoons. Nothing wrong with drying out for a while, man. Danny says he hasn't been drinking since July for no reason. But yeah, I've done that too before, where I've taken a break and then I see how long I can go, and there's nothing wrong with that. But this year, that has not worked for me. This year, with how crazy it's been like riding out solo. And if you watch my videos, that bridge we always sit at and even that's kind of how we can social distance. We did St. Patrick's Day, three of us that way last year in March. Just sit outside on the bridge and have a couple of drinks. Drinks are kind of pushing me through, but Troganator Doppelbock, yeah. I would think it's skunked if it has that kind of flavor. A box shouldn't really be like that, right? Oh, hey Andy, what's up? What do you, Danny? How do you make money in the saddle? Are you a racer? Did we already talk about this? Sorry, I. That's a good reason not to drink because I forget some of these conversations by the end. Um, Castle Danger Cream Ale. No, I haven't heard of that. Oh, Messenger. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Now I remember. I need that reminder. I am. It's even. I like to read a lot, and I am so bad with names that like in novels, I'm like, wait, which character is this? And you have to remember the name they're talking about. I mean, it's even worse than in person because in person I remember faces. So it's like once I see the face, I know what job that person might do, or I know what we've talked about before. So even if the name's escaping me, but in written text like this, and these are live chats, I I'm really bad at it. So I'm trying to think like that's why I was saying like, oh yeah, we got the guy from Ireland, the guy from New Jersey, and if anyone who's watched regularly, you know how when my friend Ben from Akron and is it from Akron is in here, his name's Watch Your Face on YouTube. I always ask him, and like I do that in real life to him all the time too. I don't know how much it annoys him, but I'm like, oh yeah, that one guy, what's his name? That one guy, what's he remembers names, I don't, and he's like my memory. Danny says unemployed, kind of strayed away from the messenger life for a while and doing odd jobs. Also an animator and illustrator, and looking for work, but it's not stable for pay. Starting becoming a photographer, I can totally relate because it was like I needed to be available to be a commercial photographer, right? But you also need money coming in, so there's not enough jobs yet. So you need income, and so I started to do that, like work part time at a couple places so I could be available when someone would call me. But then there came a point where it was like, if I'm going to make a go at this, I just have to jump off the cliff and quit my other jobs. I did have a supportive girlfriend at the time who just gave me like for our bills. She's like, "This is what you owe me every month," and we're cool with that, and that was very helpful. But yeah, trying to make a leap into something like animation, photography is any kind of artistic career. It's hard because you need the time to do it, and you need to be available when your clients want you to be available. Oh, Saugatuck Peanut Butter Porter. That's a Michigan. Is that a Michigan brewery up in the up along? What do you call that? Up by the dunes and all that. Andy was a messenger in the '90s, the good old days. Nice. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because Danny says I was able to be an artist when a relationship doesn't work so much single. Um, I kind of was able to get my start because of the woman I was dating at the time. It was very helpful, but then it also led us down different paths once I started to make it a sustainable career, where she was very 9 to 5. She was really more like 6 to 3, maybe. But so she wanted that, you know, I'm off work. I'm already done working, and I'm like, I just want to do. I need to do some things upstairs. I have an event to shoot this weekend, and our differing schedules. Once I started to become more successful, actually became the problem. And that's why I live in the studio now and stuff like that. And you know, yeah, it just drove us down different paths, which is a strange kind of thing to happen because I could not be here without her, and I have no hard feelings towards her. But yeah, just I became a freelancer, and I live a total freelancer life. And we had a house, and she liked things to be very scheduled and stuff like that, and that does not work. Um, Even doing something like this, there's no chance I would have, in that phase of my life, been able to come on and hang out with you guys and all that. Not sure how you feel about the beer yet. Best local beers in Akron? Um, well, I'm a huge fan of, obviously, Missing Falls. And actually, when I went to the brewery tonight, I went for a ride and it's snowing like crazy out here. So it was fun to go down there. I was taking some photos. I brought my expensive camera and took some snow photos. But my friend, who's a bike rider, is one of the owners of the brewery, was there. So we stood outside and had a beer real quick, and then he got me my crawler. Um, my other favorite is Magic City. Magic City is awesome. Last night, if you saw my earlier video, I rode out to Hop and Frog to pick up one of they're doing these holiday bundles. They haven't had their tap room open since COVID started, I don't think, but they consistently rank in the top 25 breweries in the world, and their beer is super expensive. And when I travel and drink at breweries and ride my bike, if I start talking to another beer nerd and I say I'm from Akron, they're like, "Oh, Hop and Frog." They know it. I mean, they all know it. No, I was fine. So I was saying I wasn't a fan of it until I got the studded tires on my mountain bike, and now I am. So he said you weren't a fan of riding, but yeah. So last night I rode 25 miles. It felt like a century ride because I did these gnarly off road trails all the way out to Hop and Frog. We have this, that's what I was talking about earlier. We have this way abandoned railroad tracks and some. They're not so much abandoned. It's what our old Cuyahoga Valley line that bought up what our canal right away would have been. But I think they keep them just maintained enough so when like we get like vintage steam engines once in a while, they could come into town, but they're not an active line. And there's a bunch of like spurs that you see go off into nowhere in these old early 1900s and late 1800s tunnels. That's why I made the video because I think it's kind of cool. I've made a couple summer versions, but yeah. So I rode that last night, 25 miles. Tonight, yeah, just rode downtown Akron to take some photos downtown for Akron and the organizations and stuff like that. And then went over to the brewery, which is in the old BF Goodrich tire plant. Man, I am rambling and never remembering where I'm going with any of these. But yeah, so with the studded tires on my vintage now mountain bike, I bought a new in 2003. I'm pretty confident, and I was fine because it was snowing like crazy last night on my way home. Snowing, tired on my way home. Last night I got a little uncomfortable because getting from Hop and Frog, like I said, it's almost all off road. It's really cool too. It goes past Derby Downs where the World Championship of Soapbox Racing happens here in Akron. It's one of our things, and our old stadium, Akron U's old stadium, and the old municipal stadium is called the Rubber Bowl, but it's now half torn down. And last night in the snow and stuff, and I'm cutting through there, really pretty, really cool. But man, I'm loving this beer. But again, where am I going with any of this? Jump back and read some of these comments. Yeah. Anyways, I can't remember. But I'm confident on the Trek 4900 with this 45 North 2-inch studded tires. But it's slow going. I mean, I could still on my way home tonight, I had like I said, had a drink at the brewery, had some stuff loaded up, and you're in winter clothes, but I could still kind of hit it kind of hard. But last night doing the gnarly trail really took it out of me. And then hitting the roads, I hate it after dark in the snow. There's a couple really busy roads, and I only have to hit them for like a quarter of a mile, but I hate it because, like I said, we do all this really cool, gnarly off-road. Really check out that video. It's kind of, I mean, I guess it's one of the benefits of living in the Rust Belt is having these kind of gravel rides you could do in the city, because I'm here in Cuyahoga Falls, so I'm right on the border with Akron. But there's another access road out here that I could ride all the way into the city if I'm not in a hurry and be in no traffic. I could get myself all the way into Akron, connect to a bike path, and come out almost right in downtown without ever having touched the road once I get through Cuyahoga Falls. I'm a mile and a half from downtown Cuyahoga Falls, so that would be my only road portion. We actually, the last time we did our Wednesday night group ride before we decided to put do a break for, it's been really bad with COVID around here lately, and we all know a bunch of people have had it, so it's kind of like, let's take a break. But we were coming off those tracks from Akron. We had met at the bike shop that's downtown, and a cop yelled out the window. He was like, "Hey, that's private property," and all train tracks are, and it was just like, but he yelled it in just such a dick way that it was just like, man, if you just would have said something nicely, like, hey, you're not allowed to be over there, you know. And it was just like incites that instant, and when you guys are bike messengers, so you know, like where you just want to be like F you and then be like, catch us, you know, like do something about it. You're not going to, but get off the tracks. Is that what he, yeah, get off the tracks. There's Ben. See, he's my memory, right? I don't remember. I was talking about this, Ben. I don't know if you're here. That I don't remember any names or anything, and I rely on you entirely to fill in the gaps. It's got to be my, well, you probably know even more of my most annoying qualities, but it's got to be one of them for you. But yeah, get off the tracks. But it's just like, why not? Why not at least give people the benefit of the doubt and not instantly infuriate them? I don't know. Anyways, let's cut some of these cables from last week. Oh yeah, we aren't riding on the tracks. We weren't riding on the tracks. We were riding on the access road. I'm a real smartass, especially after a couple beers, and especially when someone infuriates me. It's a reflex. It's like, well, you guys know, especially you bike messenger guys. Like, I don't know, maybe you feel the same. I don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth when some driver, there's no car, you know, some driver of a car says something to me. It's just like amazing what will come out of my mouth. I used to do this with actual nippers, you know, before I had like the park tool, and I would always end up like cutting these little cable ends all the way through and cutting the cable off and like completely ruining it. It's nice to have that actual thing that's made to crimp these now. If I could handle paying attention and doing it, which I can't. Apparently that I'm trying to hold one in this hand while doing it. Uh, Ben in Columbus says, I had a lady in a giant SUV flick a cigarette at me at a stoplight. I tossed it in her back seat. Nice. I think I told this story on the live stream before, but we're waiting at a red light in Akron. I'm not on the busy road. Like, it's Market Street is like, Main Street's here, and Market Street is our main, like, backbone of the city from the west side to the east side. But I just needed to cross over it, and I'm on, oh, so Ben from Akron, no, Maple. And this is just not a super busy street. The light's going to be longer there. And I'm second in line at this light, and I'm just going to go over. And no one goes straight. They're all waiting. They're going to turn on to Market one of the other ways. Um, so second line, red light. None of us are going anywhere. And the guy behind me rolls down his window. This must have been early summer. And just yells like, get out of the way. And I'm like, none of us, I'm not in the way, none of us are going anywhere. And I look and I see he has a signal on, so it's like I'm not even going to be in his way once we hit the busy street West Market. And so he says something else, I can't even remember what it was, like, you know, he's like, you're not supposed to be on the road. And it's like, I think I said once, like, I have every right to be on the road in the city of Akron as you do. And he said something else, and I just lost it. I hopped off my bike and I walked over and I just kicked his door in, like, completely dented his door. And this was like an older dude, and his car was like pristine. It wasn't a fancy car or anything, but it was someone who took care of his car completely. And he hops out, and he's like, I'm calling the cops, like, you know, and everything like that. And I just, instead of going the way I was, I circled around and I cut through some old cemeteries and made all of these. There's, got to the point where there's no way anyone's gonna catch me, or, and then if they do, I'll be so far in a different way. I'll just deny, right? But that story's happened to me a number of times where I've finally just lost it, and it's like, oh yeah, I had a guy in a truck say to me, say it was the same kind of situation, red light. And he's like, "You're lucky I don't have my 22." And what came out of my mouth, I was like, to all the cars around who were like actually kind of on my side because I hadn't done anything wrong. I was like, actually, these people are lucky you don't have your 22 because you would miss just like you missed the way you pulled up this light or whatever. Fucking ridiculous thing I yelled at the time, but. You learn a lot of people about people by their road rage because, you know, watch your face, one of the nicest guys I've known, but he's told some stories, and then my friend Albert, who owns Akron Coffee, always seems so nice and level, but I've watched him just completely lose it on some drivers in a hilarious way. There was a time where we lost it on a driver who cut us off, and we talked about this last week with the clipless and falling down in clipless pedals or cages, and we got into like an argument with the guy, and when we finally decided to ride away, Albert didn't unclip right, and he fell down, and then our friend Dave, who was like getting into it, like bumped into him and fell down, and so they're laying on the ground laughing while this old guy is yelling at us that we just got in a fight, and that was one of the biggest messes we ever put ourselves in. You've maced dudes before? I always think of ordering mace, but then I'm always like, man, I'm probably a little too trigger happy to have any kind of weapon on me. It's probably better that I have to take it on my own, right? I've taken a few mirrors with a U-lock when I was living in Portland, Maine, says Pedal Pusher. Yeah. I mirror. Yeah, I have definitely swiped a couple mirrors back after someone almost took me out with their mirrors. That's like the few winter rides I've been on. Like, even though I said I've been a little nervous because it's dark so early, and with tonight and yesterday, just tons of snow coming down. You just worry that people don't defrost their cars first and all that. You get a little nervous. I've actually been given enough space by most people. There's a couple people came right by. I hate it on 2-lane roads. It's like, if there's 2 lanes, it's like, just go into the other freaking lane. Like, why make me nervous? Yeah, inner city stuff. Yeah, I can imagine. It's really weird because I find it's like I never feel unsafe as a person, like someone's going out of their way to try to harm me. That's fair. That's very rare. I'm not saying it never happens. But I also find the most inner city of places and then the most suburban of places, I almost feel exactly the same. It's like people who are not respecting you for being on your bike. I don't know how to explain that. C10, I hear you on that. Try riding in Miami. Yes, my Miami and Florida are not overly bike friendly, right? Now Danny's had people ram them. Yeah, I've had a couple of very aggressive. I've had a couple aggressive people over time, but it's usually when I'm riding, I'm okay. Like it's usually the close passing really does piss me off. It's like, just fucking move over. We don't. Like I said, Akron it's a Rust Belt city. It's a legacy city. Our rush hour lasts for 10 freaking minutes. It's like, I'm not in your way. They still have these stupid one-way streets in downtown. 2 blocks up, the first block up from Maine and the second block up from Maine. And it really is up here because it's hilly. But it's like, and there's 4 lanes here. It's not even busy. Just move over. Yeah, I have my mom's sister has lived in Florida since well before I was even born. So I've gone down to visit them, and it's like I can't say it now. It's been a while. Now it's been for me since I was 7, but just even growing up, I don't remember a lot of cycling infrastructure. Uh, they they're from the Orlando area, Sanford, where Trayvon Martin was from actually. But one day we're out on a ride. I'll tell you about the bus that hit me and the outlaw MC that chased it down. That was a day. Yeah, heck yeah, man. I would love to. I got to hear that story. Andy says I'm in Vancouver. It's a pretty cycling friendly place. I'd rather ride in the city than the suburbs any day. Yeah, that's it's weird because so with Akron we're immediately surrounded by suburbs like a lot of Midwestern Rust Belt cities are. So it's people didn't like so much leave the state as much as people think. They left the city and just moved right outside the city to what used to be farms in the country. So you get out to the suburbs and they feel like they're the country, but they're not. They're just the where I grew up, and I grew up in the suburbs, and it's a subdivision that used to be a farm. I'm sure Once we get out, like me and Ben have done a lot of riding, like kind of past that, like into what has become sometimes the exurbs, but sometimes the actual farm country, then we find we get a lot more respect a lot of times. The people who would never politically agree with me or be my friends and they're driving a big old pickup truck or whatever we find those people give us space. Everyone waves. If we're at a stop sign and we decide we're figuring out directions, we wave people by. Everyone says, "Hey, thanks." Summer, they say, "Hey, thanks. Hey, how's it going? Hey, good to see you." It's very interesting. It really is like the suburbs are the worst. Um, I just find the trails that lead out of the city. I used to stream my bike rides on Twitch for a bit. Did you use any special equipment like Terry does for streaming on Twitch? Are you able to go straight from the phone? Because I'm like, could I just go live once in a while riding? Because he's riding with like 3 modems and all this like crazy setup. Moving to Virginia. See Staten moving to Virginia. Cool. Trying to think of the last time I would have been in the Virginia area. Definitely been to Virginia Beach real early in the season before tourist season, which was kind of cool. Yeah, and people are people anywhere. You have rich cyclists in the city who understand. Once in a while I get the person who won't pass me, which sometimes could be annoying. But you get the cautious person, like where it's hilly around here in the country, that's waiting and they're being respectful in the suburbs. But yeah, a lot of times it's just like, yeah, I don't know. And then yeah, same thing in the country. You might get the bro who's gonna. I know it's happened to Ben. It's happened to me, where they're gonna. What do you call that? Where they fucking blast that diesel smoke in your face. Just your iPhone. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's. Well, I mean, well, he makes it. Terry B makes his living as a videographer, but he has 100,000 over 100,000 YouTube subscribers now. So yeah, it's worth for him to totally invest in the channel. Oh, I should have. Oh, yeah, with the shifter cables, I could actually cut these first. Roll call? You mean roll call? Terry seems like in normal times, like, because other guys have, well, he does his rides over there in Queens in the, right behind the Grand Army, the park right behind the Brooklyn Museum. And I've seen he puts out the call on Instagram. He's like, if anyone's trying to ride tonight, it's like 10 people show up. I'm always amazed by that because we think people are so famous from YouTube. But it's like when he puts one of those calls out, sometimes it's like he meets like only 2 new people. I'm like, if I lived in New York and Terry B was like, anyone want to go to riding tonight? I'd be like, hell yeah, I want to meet this guy in person. He's so fucking cool. Like, right? But yeah, I love New York and I love going to New York. But the last time I went is the first time I've ever really ridden there. I've just rented. Did I talk about this too? Yeah, rolling coal. Oh, that's what they call it. Okay. God, see again, Ben. Now I got 2 Bens to save me from. I'm already an idiot because I'm the one talking, but to at least help me understand things, I guess, is the. Yeah, I think that's why I think Watch Your Face turned me on to Terry B. I believe originally, but one of the big things is just I love New York and love watching someone ride around New York. I was out there not this summer, but the summer before. We just rented some hybrids. Me and my girlfriend. We rode all on the Hudson River all the way up from Lower Manhattan to the Bronx. Once we got into the Bronx, she didn't want to ride, and she was like, "I think I'm just gonna take the subway home with the bike. Like, is that cool?" And I didn't want to be like, you know, it's like, yeah, that's cool. It's like we'll meet each other. And it worked out the best because we had a great ride on the bike paths, which are totally chill. You could ride all around Manhattan on the outside, and it's like riding any bike path around any city. But then when she jumped on the subway, I'm like, all right. I went and hit a brewery in the Bronx Brewery, had a couple beers, and then I went bombing through Midtown. It's just like something I've always wanted to do. He was probably a bike messenger. He was definitely riding a track bike, but I basically jumped his wheel and I would just follow him when he jumped into bike lanes. I followed him in the bike lanes when he knew to go through to get through the lights. So I didn't have to have that whole like, experience of knowing what I was doing. I had someone kind of leading, and we were actually meeting up at me and Aaron later at the Rafa store and the Chrome store, which are across the street from each other. Coincidentally, 2 totally different experiences, obviously. But yeah, I just got that great experience of bombing through, Manhattan on a bike. It would be even better if it was on one of my bikes, but yeah, she hated the hybrids. They were Treks. They were decent, middle of the road, like Sora hybrids. Oh, Terry Berenson. Yeah, he's a YouTuber. He's from California, but he's been in New York for years. Um, he calls himself Terry B, so we all got in the habit of calling himself Terry B. But he was doing when New York went into lockdown, he started doing live streams almost every single day, and he was calling them the morning routine, and that's where I just straight up ripped off the name for the evening routine. And then he started doing a members Monday, and he was playing like anyone who subscribed to his channel's videos. And so I ended up he started playing mine even before I subscribed, but subscribed, and yeah, so met a lot of people, and a lot of us have that in common of watching Terry's videos and chatting in his live stream chats. So, but he's a photographer and a videographer. He was part of a collective. Um, they were doing a lot of photography stuff pre-Instagram. Instagram kind of, and their blog, it kind of shut that down. But then he does high-end videography work. So yeah, the Cooper Ray rough cuts. Hotline. No, I don't have the bike, but I've ever seen the Hotline stickers. I've got on a few of my bikes, and Ben from Akron does too. That's what kind of blew him up on YouTube is his, yeah, his Hotline and Rough Cut series. They're just he does. He's kind of like I me and Ben have said this. He's like a later version of Lucas Brunel. If you know who Lucas Brunel is, he was the one who made the famous Line of Sight documentaries about bike messengers and the alley cats and all that kind of stuff. Danny says he captures not just the image of biking, but he captures the feeling. I actually learned a lot to ride in traffic by studying his rough cuts. I the thing to me that takes him to the next level, because he even did one of his like morning routine interviews with Lucas Brunel, who is kind of the innovator. Even pre-digital, he two camcorders strapped to his helmet. But Terry is taking like the videography of doing like that kind of city cycling to the next level. I mean, he's been riding with gimbals and stuff like that, and he's been very helpful technically on this kind of stuff to a lot of us who want to make YouTube videos. He's really um, kind of hippy dippy. Sorry. No, no worries. Yeah, yeah, but really, I think he's taken the cinematography level of that like stuff to the next level of bringing it into the digital age a little more. Even like Ben told me that Lucas Brunel had a YouTube channel. I watch it and it still makes that dude is just totally freaking insane, and still will jump on a freeway and still ride harder than anyone you have ever seen. Like, and still sketch on a you know a truck going, 40 miles an hour. Just totally nuts. But also as a videographer, I'm like, God, why is he using that frame rate? Like, why is he using those settings on his camera? And I don't know I'd be interested, Dan, if you notice stuff like that. Like, yeah, added art to the format. Yeah, just like, I say, like doing YouTube, it's like, I have a lot of, like, even making the video I made last night, there's still technical stuff that I'm very conscious of. It's like I'm not just filming, I'm also still like, it doesn't matter to me if I messed up and the settings are wrong and the footage is cool, I'm like not going to show it. I'm not happy with it. I'm not. Yeah, it's what I do for a living, right? So yeah, I've seen Safa and Terry's videos. Speed Disciples. That sounds so familiar. Have I watched that? I'll check that out. I'll Google that after, because that's entirely familiar sounding to me. Who's the Russian dude Terry always rides with? And he just put out another video with him. Those are always pretty cool too. Oh, it's Safa's new thing. Okay, yeah, I'll check that out. Crusher, yeah, Crusher. That music video. Did you watch the music video Terry made when he was in Russia for Crusher? I was like, I'm like, is this supposed to be serious? Because I've looked at Terry B's like actual website of cinematography, but that one I was like, this there's supposed to be a humorous element going on here, right? Hey Benz, do I put a ferrule into these barrel adjusters that are the down tube adapters, or do you just put the cable into there? Because it seems kind of loose. And I was messing around with this earlier. King of the Russian, yeah. Videographer does documentaries and things like that. He did Endless Summer 2 and From Dust to Glory. Yes, on the ferrules. Oh, by the way, I put on my EF hat. Did you see it's the last year of just EF? They've picked up a second title sponsor, which oh, thanks, Danny. I can't be mad about. Like, more money in cycling is always a good thing, and then a Japanese company, and they're the company that they're an asphalt company, and they've done it's something like 90% of the velodromes in Japan, which in Japan, velodrome racing is the thing. But I liked finally the simple name for EF, just EF Pro Cycling after EF Drop Pack powered by Cannondale and all that kind of stuff. It was nice just to have the one name, but I got to assume EF has taken a huge financial hit, the actual company, from COVID because their travel, education through travel. So yeah, Nipo, yeah. We're back to the basically takes a cool subject matter like surfing or Baja 100 and makes them an art experience. I don't know, Kren. We're talking about caps. Kind of interested to know more about Japanese fixed bikes. Karen racing and all that stuff. Karen, is that the right? Me and Ben from Akron have talked about it a lot. Like, and it's very interesting, and like, it's almost like the culture in Japan of cycle racing is almost more similar to the late 1800s here in the U.S. Uh, completely, yeah, completely different kind of sport. All that like motor pacing stuff and all those different events. Karen, yeah, yeah, those NJS because God, it's so crazy because they gamble on it. Anyone, right? GCN isn't always my favorite, but they've made some great videos on the Japanese velodrome, like track racing culture. And it's interesting because the riders are like sequestered, because they gamble on it. And the bikes all have to be like the same specs. So it's really fascinating. Yeah, completely different than Europe. Even different than what I was saying, 1800s, early 1900s, but more those kind of events. I'm reading a book on Major Taylor right now, and some of the events, like how they have the Quinn cycles, like five guys pedaling and pacing you out for the mile until they break off. Some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff is still in the Olympics, but in the U.S. they don't play a lot of this stuff in the Olympics. Yeah, they're horses in Japan. Exactly, they're horses. Yeah, but the bikes are still. He's saying they're like jockeys, and it's almost seedy, dirty, grimy Vegas feeling. Ben says for sure, but it's fascinating. I can't get this ferrule over. Did I leave a little nub somewhere? Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing, and that's why they have to sequester the riders, is because there is dirty money and stuff involved in them, and they. Yeah, I'm reading The World's Fastest Man about Major Taylor, and it's super interesting. He's yeah, super depressing in ways, to think back to the level of racism that was going on and stuff, but just how popular velodrome racing was in the U.S. I don't think most people know this. Like, I mean, Madison Square Garden, they would just build a velodrome for like a weekend. Like put all the money and put the boards in. There's pictures here up in Cleveland, of these like velodromes they would build for the races. Gravel bike. Which gravel bike were you building? I think you mentioned it on Tuesday, Danny. when it comes to figuring out wheel sets, it's almost like it's just how much money you have, right? I mean, like. I like steel bikes, but I swear to God, I'd take a carbon wheel set for anything. You know, anything I build. It's looking good. Oh, this bottom bracket too. The cable guides they're metal. They're welded on. They're not the kind where you need the find like the plastic adapter and the nut to get them in there. Which I could see could be a real pain in the ass at sometimes, but this one is all still in good condition. So. Oh, no. Yeah, I paid. I have velocity wheels on my gravel bike, and what did Otis charge me? 600, but they're velocity hubs, velocity wheel set. The retail was a little bit higher than that. They're not ultra lightweight either, though. But I've got almost 5,000 miles on them and they don't need to be trued. Yeah, ailerons, yeah. Which, by the way, me and Ben looked up means little wing in French. So airplanes have ailerons, but it actually directly translates to English as little wing, which is also a very good Jimi Hendrix song if there's any. Oh, there we go. Oh, you have Chris King hums on the Velocity rims. That's a nice wheel set right there. I was out riding with Ben from Akron one day, and I'm like, did I dent this rim? Like, there's a dent in this rim. And Ben's like, looks at Otis from the bike shop who sold it to me. He's like, he just found out why he got a deal on that wheel set. Son of a bitch. Why is this? It's not the right size? Alright, so it's almost 10. I've run one cable. Danny says, but I would like to know if there's a wheel set to keep an eye out for as far as brands that are good, reliable. For gravel bikes, I was just going Surly Whiskey. Yeah, whiskey. Well, whiskey is All City Surly, right? That's their carbon. Is that what whiskey is? It's just the carbon stuff that QDP makes, I think. Ben has it's really nice carbon wheels on his surly all city. I want to say Pacer, but it's not the Pacer. See this? What I keep saying, I can't remember things. That's why. And what carbon? The carbon seat post on that is. Yeah, Q brands QGP. Zigzag, the zigzag. I mean, Ben's got to sit there and be like, how did this dude survive before he knew me? Yeah, I mean, a brand to keep your eye out for. I mean, they're like anything. I mean, you could buy you know, you could buy a $300 Fender guitar, and you could buy a $10,000 Fender guitar. So it just, take Trek, maybe it's the biggest U.S. bike company if they are, I don't know. But same thing, they'll sell a bike to Kmart that comes with garbage components that's going to break in 6 months of hard riding. But they also make, the bike that will win the Tour de France. So I don't think you could look to a brand. Wheel builders will build you a decent wheel, like, for under, I didn't use. That's what, so Ben from Columbus is saying, and I think Ben from Akron has said to me the same thing, that for a good wheel set that is affordable, velocity is kind of, sorry, that comment. Tim gonna drop some Vuelta knowledge. Yeah, I got an eBay wheel set on my Roger Riviera, which is the bike I built up as a gravel cross bike. It's a vintage, cheap bike boom, vintage French bike, but it was my friend, so it's sentimental. And but I found some Vueltas, and they got bladed arrow spokes, and they've never done me wrong, man. DT Swiss, you never hear any complaints about. That's all going to be quality. What hubs are you going to put on those velocity hoops, Ben? Is that your salsas that fixed salsa, right? Definitely. I mean, if you're on a budget, I love my velocity wheel set. Ben's brought up a bunch. They're made in the USA. I've never heard anyone complain about velocity. Like anything, you're balancing strength, price, weight, all those factors are going to add in. If you want, the best of everything, it's going to get pricey, right? Why does this feel like it doesn't fit? It's just driving me crazy. Where did I run? To the outside? Why is that? This brake arm is so long. It's like really interfering with this, but I don't think I want to run to the inside of it. Like I ride stuff that talked about this before, but there's gravel riding but the video we put out earlier, we're riding over super chunky stuff, driving over rails. Like my velocity wheel set is held up fine. Like I said, they're not the lightest, but they're not heavy. These aren't boat anchors by any stretch of the imagination. They still spin completely smooth and true. So I can't imagine, as these being I think I paid 600. I think maybe they're what, a $700 or $800 wheel set that you would be mad about them. Awesome. This is exactly what I hoped when I first started this, that people would smarter than me would be answering questions because I'm just here to talk about Rehoboth. As I always say, I just love to imagine the people who are watching this later when I just lose my mind because comments like this in the live chat that don't show up later. Son of a biscuit. Oh, is it really? Oh, that's for real. Okay, so Ben from Columbus says call Velocity and ask for Jill Martindale. And then Ben from Akron says, I think you mean Jill Fartin. I can't even. Fartindale. And I thought Ben was making a completely Beavis and Butthead elementary style joke, but apparently it's her Instagram handle. Call her and tell her you want a pair of 69 mil wheels for $420. So I was looking and uh, New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve next week are on Thursdays. I'll probably go over to Aaron's, but I'm still isolating, so I'm not going to be with any. I would normally have a Christmas Eve party over my brother-in-law's and my sister's, which is a blast. It's small, I mean, just family, but we hang out. Not going to do any of that. Should I stream? Would you? Any of you guys be interested in? Would any of you guys be interested in Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve? Because we've got a bunch of Aaron's parts assembled over at her house, so we could talk about that. And then I bought all those rare beers from Hop and Frog that are New Year's Eve beers. So I thought that could break those out for New Year's, and we could all talk about beer and stuff like that. Yeah, cool. When I was a couple year in, I was thinking like, why not? Why not have the stream going anyways? I was thinking, Danny. Yeah. I mean, I actually get along with my family pretty well, and we're all cool. And not that we're like anyone we have our problems, but I'm gonna miss like those festivities. But I'm like, one thing I was thinking, if you guys are on Instagram, uh, noob review, yeah. I have my cycling Instagram below at Fitzwater Cycles. Tag me in a couple of your posts if you guys are on there, like with your bike or whatever you ride. And then for like the Christmas Eve show, it'd be cool to I could throw a couple of those on screen so we could all see what everyone actually looks like and what we're riding, or if you're in the process of doing something like this, whatever you got, just tag me. I'll save those and I'll get them all like in line so we could all like see each other's stuff, because you guys watch me do my stupid shit and It would be way cooler to see what everybody else, has going on. Or what you ride. Show me your your bike pass, your city pass, whatever it may be. Like, doesn't matter. Anything you think. Let's do that on Christmas Eve. Said I'll get the thing where I could have people join going eventually. Holy shit, this is too short. Did I use the wrong cables? Look at that. Fucking hell. Benz, you're supposed to. Photos are pants optional. Well, I talked to Ben from Columbus after Tuesday's stream, and I was like, 2 hours, and all I did was run brake cables, and he was like, and he's been a real mechanic, and he was like, oh yeah, the art of bullshitting while you work on stuff is a real art. And I'm like, now I realize that. I think of Otis, Ben from Akron's boss, and how we're all in there drinking beers and bothering him, and he's still building bikes for customers, and he could still be like, oh yeah, yeah. And I am clearly not someone who can do that. But it's interesting because as a photographer, people are coming up and saying stuff to you all the time, and you got to be still focused on your job and still paying attention. But I can do that because I know my camera like the back of my hand. I don't know building bikes like the back of my hand. I've seen, I think even Cleveland has a pantless, or used to pre-pandemic pantless bike ride as well, or a naked bike ride, and people, whatever level of going nude you want to do. Why is that not lined up? Yeah, vent work, yeah. You know what? I've never been good at cutting people off in conversation in person. You get that person who will just talk for fucking. Trying to keep this a family show. Talk for freaking ever. But my camera really is my way to be like, hey, I'm doing a thing here. Cool, gotta go. But I could think about settings and f-stops and my flash power and all that kind of stuff because it's what I do all the time. This, it didn't even it would have crossed my mind if I was doing this on my own to think one of these brake cables or shifting cables is longer than the other ones. But talking about no pants and fixed gears, and I don't have that capacity. I have 3 Instagrams, yes. 3 is the number. So I have my personal / professional, which I don't distinguish between, which is advice people would tell you not to follow, but whatever. And then I have the cycling one, and I started the cycling one. My Instagram cycling one was 2 reasons. One, because I was posting so many bike photos to Fitzwater photo, and I'm like, well, I want to have some stuff that looks like a little bit professional and not just bike photos. But the other one was the more I got into pro cycling, I didn't want the spoilers. So if I had to shoot in the morning, so I couldn't watch the Tour or the Giro or whatever it may be in the morning, I couldn't follow all those teams, so I just couldn't open Instagram. So the cycling account, being able to have to follow all the pro cycling and the pro cyclists I like on a separate account, made it so I could still open my normal Instagram without getting spoilers. And then I've always liked analog photography, but as I got more into it, when I post that to my regular account, no one cares about like it would, you would just see like no one ever comments, no one ever clicks. Like, so I'm like, I'll put the analog stuff somewhere else, and then I'll also follow analog photography over there. So it's the same thing as cycling, where it's like, oh, I want to read about or check out analog photography stuff. I've got a space to do it. I want to post it with other like-minded people. There's a space to do it. So yeah, well, I feel the other cycling is. Yeah. I didn't put a. Damn it. Again. You'll follow two no more. Yeah. Well, see, like even when I started the analog one, I didn't tell anyone about it, like any friends or like try. I never try and be like, "Oh, follow me over here too," you know. But even my girlfriend, she's like, "I got recommended an account that has your name. It's called Fitzwater Analog. Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I made another one from my film shit." You know. Even on this channel, there'll be some more film photography stuff that I know, like a lot of people have now I've become friends with or have subscribed. It's all cycling, but I've always done like film photography stuff on here too, and I still intend to do that, especially with the winter. But I always say it's like no one makes you watch anything. Like hang out, we could all do this, and if it's something you don't care about, don't watch it. Come back for the videos that seem to interest you, or same thing with the Instagram accounts. Like you don't need to follow the film one if you don't care at all about film photography, right? You know. Oh yeah, Otis gave me a. Oh yeah. Instead of cutting one, I have one of these. When he was cleaning out the old shop. This stand, what did I? Bike hand. It's a bike hand from Taiwan. I think it was like a super deal somewhere that popped. I had built so that there's my workbench is right here, and I just made something out of like all homemade stuff out of wood that I could set my bike on to like fix them. And then I think this popped up somewhere and it was super cheap, so I picked it up. I didn't really work on my bikes that much at the time, but it works fine. I mean, it's you know it's not overly sturdy, but it's got like a good enough bike hand. That is not a brand you will. I bet there's like I bet this is made in one factory and painted like 10 different companies or 10 different colors and has like 10 different company names right here, you know. Yeah, check this. Oh, there's the barrel adjusters on the old cable here. Yep. Then I made a bike, so there's so much like clips and clamps. Like even my iPhone is sitting here on it's all photography stuff, you know. And so I made one out of old light stand parts that are all around the studio here. How do you carry camera while riding? I'm actually halfway through a video about that whole topic because there's a number of ways I do it depending on like so I'm a photographer, so I have different cameras and I have my film cameras and I have what I'm willing to put different cameras on and then for different bikes. So for me it's like that is a whole extensive topic. My most expensive cameras, like my current DSLR, well now it's a mirrorless, the one that's filming me, is only going to be on my back, whether it's a backpack or a sling. It's never going to bounce around in a bike bag in any capacity. But I will put like my last camera in the frame bag or a handlebar bag if it fits, or even when we do our bike touring, I bring my 60, which is now 2 camera generations ago for me, professional camera, and I will put that in the rear rack mount thing, but I have these special cushions that I put it on. Um, so yeah, I am going to put out, like, I shot a lot of the B-roll of all the bikes with the different bags and the bags I put on, and going to make a whole video about how I carry my cameras, because for me it's super extensive topic. It might be, I think a lot of people will find it boring, but some people will find it interesting. And also, I find with my cameras, and I will end up saying this in the video, like if I don't have access to them, I don't use them as much. So if I'm just shooting for fun, I want something that I could actually pull out and shoot while riding and all that kind of stuff. If I'm just riding to work to shoot a job, then it's going to be the full backpack with all the gear that I need. Bike hand is essentially a Park Tool knockoff, but they're not bad at all. I have a bike hand trimming stand for wheel building at home. Works fine. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it does what I need it to do. It's holding this too, having the rotating arm. Like when I have my light stand one that used to be here, yeah, I could only rest them here, and I know you can't clamp, you don't want to clamp down, especially on butted, or not that I only have one carbon bike and it's vintage, you would never clamp down on that. So using a bike stand that I built myself is not the ideal solution. But now how much I do this, it would be worth investing in a nice stand, but I'm still not having a problem with this one. It's, I don't have the ability to, I wouldn't be comfortable like flipping this upside down or doing the stuff that you could really do with like the serious bike shop ones, but hey, who asked the camera bag question? That was, or am I? How to pronounce that? Vinette, ready? Vinette. I noticed with this chain just resting on here, when I small ring up front, small ring in the back, it is actually rubbing on the front of the dropout, this triangle part. Um, obviously this is a bike that would have probably been 6-speed era. This is a 9-speed group set. I think it's going to be fine in every other regard, but it's just something to keep in mind for myself that never, personally, I don't cross chain anyways, especially to this extreme, but it is something to keep in mind, to remember, like, to really never cross chain this bike to the extreme of small to small, because it actually does rub. And I have a wolf tooth, what do you call these? It drops the derailleur down. Again, here I go with my, but I even had this one. It was built on the Raleigh. I needed to get to the, I think this is a 30, this is a 32 on this bike. And I need to get to the 32, I need the extra derailleur hanger, spacer, or whatever. Oh, that's real loose. I'll see you, Danny, man. Have a good night, man. I'm glad you joined us. It was fun. I love chatting. Wolf Tooth Road Link. That's yeah, exactly what it is. When I had the originally on the Raleigh, and I had that with this 105 derailleur, I had a 34, and I didn't notice at first, but it was actually the pulley wheel was actually slightly touching, and it would actually be rubbing a little bit. But when we rode Black Fork, are you aware of Black Fork? What that ride is? Columbus Bend pedal pusher. Super gnarly gravel ride. I mean, like not the terrain's not out. The climbs are just super intense. I think we talked about this before, but I needed the 1-to-1. I'm someone who used to push, these vintage 6-speed bikes up hills, but 34, I would not have made it without that. And I rode past some friends who are stronger riders than me and who beat me overall in the ride, who were walking up some of those hills. So can I just do this? How does this work? Or will that just make it catch more? This one for sure. Alligators. Nice. Oh, you were signed up for Black Fork? Yeah, that was 36.42. There are times when I would have definitely liked to have that gear. I felt like 1-to-1, I'm able to get up most things. I have the strength to do just about anything. And I feel like if it took more than that, I probably wasn't going to make it anyways. I do need to figure out what I want to do with this bike. I need to get some. I definitely. One thing I was thinking, I have this old cross frame that a friend gave me, and it had some kind of knobby vintage cyclocross tires on it that are not dry rotted. And I was like, if I threw those on here for now, this is right. This has 23s on the rear. I'm not even gonna test ride it with that. And this front one's dry rotted. But yeah, do need to figure out tires. I looked, and I have a lot of 27, not a lot, but a few sets of 27 tires. 27 inch that would still work, but I don't have any 700C to throw on here. Oh, nutmeg, yeah. Oh, I was talking about EF earlier, changing their name to EF Nipo. Did you guys see the new AG Duar uniforms? They went from AG Duar Le Mondial to AG Duar Citroën, the French team, Roman Bardet's old team, but he left. I thought they looked super cool, but people seem to be like trashing them. Uh, I thought they had like kind of a modern look that totally stands out from what Cycling Kid normally looks like. I think I have it on. Let's see. Oh yeah, I do. It's kind of small, but well, the logo's so big. Is anyone still watching? Let me know. I don't know. I think it's sweet. Yeah, the big fawn in the back too. Yeah, I'm into it. I think it's a cool look, and I always kind of hated their brown bibs, but I did like the color scheme of the old ones. I've always been a Roman Bardet fan. I don't think he's as much as he wants to win the tour. They always thought him as the big French hope. I just don't think he's a tour winner. He's a great climber. He'll have a great day, but yeah, I thought those were sweet. I'll be really interested to see what EF does with the new name, but I'm just not gonna. I just love that it could have such a clean look right now, and once you have more title sponsors, you lose that. Let's see. I'll tighten up. Oh yeah, that's super loose. Yeah, it's cool to right anything different. I liked some of the even the EFs and the Giro, the Pala stuff. I did not the actual kit and the actual bikes were a little goofy, but like some of the stuff like the musette bags and stuff that came out with it was. But again, to see someone just like they were saying be disruptive. I mean, yeah, do something different. I think they've already done that with their normal EF stuff, and I think it's awesome. But well, I think I mean, at least I've got them run. Like this is not anywhere near shifting, but made another small step tonight. Oh, I only ran one because I took the other one off. Might as well hang on and get this part done. Have that opened up? Yeah. Good thing you guys aren't paying me by the hour. That's a bad joke. Yeah, I guess I don't understand the Paulus brand. I think it's something that's I never had heard of them. I don't, I think people were like saying it's kind of like Supreme, which I don't understand that either. So my one friend Cameron, who is a younger and totally into being a roadie, he called it punk. I don't think that would be my definition of punk, but again, in cycling, I guess that would be pretty punk rock for cycling, but it's all super expensive stuff that everyone bought up and sell on eBay, right? Did you Columbus Ben, check out Ben just put out a video like his highlight from last year, and he has Mid-South footage in there, and you could see how absolutely brutal it was in the rain. Does that give you? But did that give him an end for this year? I don't know. He probably told me, and like everything, I don't remember anything. So, what happened to that? Oh, I didn't put the game on. Oh, you saw it, yeah. I absolutely know that was not a completable ride, or by normal mortals, by the fact that Ben didn't finish it. It was only mechanical stuff. He would have been, I know he would have been out there till, like his buddy, the guy that rode all night to finish, no matter what it took, if his bike didn't break down on him. Because it seems like in a normal, well, last year was a normal year, but the rain, that would be an awesome ride. Is this the wrong wrench? What the fuck? How do I have it rounded off? Yeah. It's rubbing in a place it shouldn't. Okay. Huh. Okay. There we go. Oh, yeah, because it's a lottery to get in there, right? And I think Ben, even to get in last year, just jumped on it and refreshed the page a bunch right at the beginning. This is actually rubbing on the bottom bracket shell, and there's a, you could see where the last derailleur did too. I wonder if the vintage derailleur, whatever, well, this was a Campy group set, had this set out, maybe a little lean back. Well, I'm a little buzzed now. That's something, that's fine tuning that I'll look into lately. Yeah, I think so. I think most of us would be able to finish that route. Just the weather destroyed his bicycle. You know, I think he even would have finished if his even in those tough conditions if the weather didn't destroy it. All right, guys. So I'm going to call it for the night because, well, I'm not in any, I'm not in good enough shape to fine tune this, and I've really got to take a leak. Is what it comes down to. So, like, I could throw on a video, but it's already 10:30, and we'll be here on Tuesday. Not sure what we're gonna do on Tuesday yet. Maybe we'll work on fine tuning this, and if you guys are on, you can give me the suggestions to get, you know. But it is a bicycle now, so awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I will see you guys on Tuesday, and then Thursday we'll do the Christmas party. A week later, might as well do a New Year's party because there's a number of us who are all going to be taking it easy, so might as well do VGNO, right? But there'll be a woman there, so we'll make an exception. All right, peace, dudes.